So I saw the new Ghostbusters last night.
Yeah.
And so of course, like, it's not even like, the assumption isn't even, is it as good, just how does it even compare? And I've been sort of absorbing it, and I think the real difference between Ghostbusters 1984 and Ghostbusters 2016 is cocaine. It's so clear. Like, the studio executives who got to choose to make movies in the 80s were so coked out that it makes perfect sense that they're chasing ghosts, and sometimes they're people ghosts, and sometimes they're monster ghosts. There's no sense to it, and so it just made sense to me. Like, oh, okay, like that's when people think about like, oh, I miss the '80s movies. They miss executives doing a shit ton of coke. Now it's like some marketing algorithm that makes this call. It used to be some like gacked out yuppie who was just like, you know what, that's fucking great. Do it. And like and it was funny. The new Ghostbusters movie was funny. You should go see it. It was very funny. Like, but like in a weird like scientific, like made in a lab funny. Like these people, it's like down to a science. Like the first joke, it was like, oh shit, this is gonna be a funny movie. And it just kept, and it was like a couple scenes that weren't quite, but overall, it was a good movie. And it's weird, like people, I used to kind of bag on cocaine because I used to think it didn't really do anything for creatives. And now I think, oh, no, it doesn't do anything, but it does great shit for executives to get out of the way of creatives. I mean, it reminds me, like my mom, I was with my mom and she was like, Jesse, why is it that like the artists that are on heroin always make better stuff? And I was like, wow, this has finally trickled down to my mom. she's like, oh yeah, Coltrane, like no smack, no soul. And I was like, no, like it's not. The drugs don't make you creative. They just make you not give a fuck about what you're doing because you're on drugs. And so you get away from your ego, and then you make, again, crazy decisions that you're like, if you were sober, you'd be like, well, I don't make creative choices like that. But when you're fucking completely ripped, you don't think about anything, so you just act. And that's where I really feel like that's the difference between Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters. Because the original, don't worry, dude, watch the behind the scenes of Ghostbusters 2. You can see them cutting around Murray snorting. Like, it's just the difference between the 80s and now. Like, people used to just do a lot of drugs and throw shit at the wall and be like, okay, let's put it out and see what happens. And now we're like way more careful about everything, and it still works, but it's completely different. So, that's my review.